Their collusion with the darkness has exploded in their hands. While those who set you up are disappearing into their own shadows, you are ushering in a new era with the light of your purpose. While they are chasing quick gains, you have risen so high with the power of your patience, faith and spirit that there is no stopping you. Destiny always finds its true owners. Your reward is not money, but something greater, divine purpose. Now all eyes are on you. Write 99 in the comments. Don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a huge family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and join us. Because as darkness falls, your star shines bright. It's a lot like watching a seed buried deep in the earth, covered by darkness, pressed down by layers of dirt. The world walks by, never expecting much from that tiny, forgotten thing. But just because you can't see movement on the surface doesn't mean something isn't growing below. That seed is quietly breaking open, sending roots down, reaching for the water and the light it cannot yet see. The world may overlook it, but in due season, that seed will crack the ground wide open, showing everyone what was happening all along. Life sometimes plays out the same way for folks who carry a special calling, those rare souls who were marked for more even before they understood it themselves. There are people in this world who think they've figured out the system. They move in silence, thinking they can slip into another person's blessing, like a stranger sneaking into a garden to steal what they never planted. They imagine that with enough tricks and smooth words, they'll end up holding what never belonged to them. But the truth is, God doesn't hand out purpose like loose change. There are doors no hand can open except the one who holds the key, and there are treasures kept safe by hands no one can outmaneuver. Many have tried to ride someone else's favor, convinced that if they stick close enough, watch long enough, or copy hard enough, they'll end up with the same harvest. But no amount of copying ever produces the real fruit of faithfulness. Some people invest years into trying to unravel someone's secret, only to find themselves right back where they started, empty, tired, and wondering why nothing in their life is growing. They never realize that true abundance doesn't come from striving, but from surrendering to a calling that's bigger than their own plans. All through history, this story repeats itself. Sometimes the folks who plot in the shadows are the ones who once sat at your table, shared your laughter, or even prayed with you. They think that by staying close, they can siphon off your light or claim your blessing for themselves. But there are certain things no one can take from you, not by force, not by cunning, not even by standing in your shoes. Destiny is like a river. It finds its way around every dam, every obstacle, every person who stands in the way, because what God set in motion cannot be stopped by the hands of men. It's hard to watch sometimes, when you see people moving in ways that hurt, manipulating, gossiping, or setting traps behind closed doors. You might ask yourself, why would they do this to me? Why is my name always in their mouth? Why can't they just let me be? The answer is simpler than you think. There's something about your light that unsettles their shadows. Your very presence shines a spotlight on everything they wish they had. So they get desperate, convinced that if they can just block your path, your blessing will fall to them. What they don't know is that your harvest was never theirs to reap. There's a gentle wisdom in letting life play out, in not rushing to fight every battle or explain yourself to every doubter. Just like that seed under the earth, your breakthrough is happening in silence, in places no one else sees. All the while, those who conspire are left with hands full of dust, walking in circles, chasing after rewards that slip through their fingers. It's as if every plan they make, every alliance they form, only serves to draw them further away from what they want and closer to a lesson they didn't expect to learn. God's favor doesn't work on a first-come, first-served basis, nor does it shift to the loudest voice in the room. It flows quietly, like oil poured on a chosen vessel, running down to the places that need it most. And while others are busy trying to break in, the real door opens in the heart of the one who waited, who trusted, who stayed rooted through every season of silence and misunderstanding. The world may look at your struggles and think you're losing, but they don't see the roots you've put down in the unseen. They don't see the quiet prayers, the late-night tears, the moments you almost gave up but chose to stand anyway. The same people who walked away, shaking their heads, will soon circle back, bewildered by your resilience. They'll wonder how you survived the attacks, the betrayals, the storms. But it wasn't you. It was the one who called you, the one who protected you, the one who promised to make everything right in the end. When the dust settles, the folks who thought they'd take your place end up further away than when they started. Their pockets might look full for a moment, but peace can't be purchased and joy won't grow in stolen ground. Meanwhile, the doors that stayed shut for years begin to swing wide, not just for you, but for your children and your children's children. The blessing multiplies not because you fought for it, but because you remained faithful when faith was the only thing you had left. You see, there's a rhythm to these things, a divine order that nobody can disrupt. The ones who move in the dark eventually get tangled in their own nets, while those who keep their heart clean rise with a testimony no enemy can erase. Your story becomes a beacon, a lighthouse on the shore for everyone who ever wondered if obedience is worth it, if trusting in something bigger still matters in a world built on shortcuts. The greatest vindication isn't just what you gain, but how you gain it. It's the knowledge that you didn't have to manipulate, compete, or tear anybody else down to be blessed. The favor on your life stands as evidence that some things are simply ordained. In the end, those who tried to slip through the cracks realize they've only trapped themselves, while you walk out freer, lighter, and more assured than ever before. Want to see miracles come alive? Subscribe and witness the wonder in every story. It's a humbling truth, but a powerful one. What God has for you, nobody can steal. Not a boss, not a neighbor, not even a family member who turned against you. Every single closed door, every betrayal, every sleepless night was building you for this moment. Now, as you stand on the threshold of a new season, you carry not just your own hope, but the hope of all those who will follow in your footsteps. So let them talk, let them plot, let them gather their little circles of doubt. It won't change the outcome. The harvest that's coming isn't just for you, but for every seed you've sown in faith, every kind word, every act of integrity when no one else was watching. The world might not understand it, but that's all right. Blessings have a way of showing up quietly, all at once, like that seed finally breaking the soil, blooming in full view of those who said it would never happen. And that's the miracle of divine destiny. What looks like a setback is only a setup for something greater. Those who tried to write you out of the story become the footnotes in a chapter that's only just beginning. You are proof that no force on earth can block what was written over your life by heaven itself. So hold your head high, keep your heart clean, and remember, the best is yet to come. The story isn't over, and the most beautiful harvest always comes after the longest winter. It's like the story of an old oak tree standing out in the field. Year after year, storms roll through, winds batter its branches, and people passing by might think that tree is just another piece of the scenery, weathered and worn, no real power left in its roots. They don't realize that the greatest strength is hidden deep underground, out of sight, growing wider and deeper with every season. People forget, what you see above the ground is just the smallest part of what holds that oak in place. The mightiest roots are planted in places nobody thinks to look. That's how it goes for so many souls who are overlooked and counted out by those who think power comes from big names, private handshakes, or secret gatherings behind closed doors. There are folks out there, maybe even in your own town, who see quietness as weakness. They'll measure a person by the car they drive or the size of their house, never understanding that true greatness almost always grows in silence. But God knows how to raise up the quiet ones, the humble ones, the ones nobody picked first when teams were chosen. It's amazing how the world likes to count people out before their story is done. You can live a whole lifetime being told you're not enough, that you missed your moment, that you're too plain or too ordinary. But the same God who shaped mountains and set the stars in place has a way of using those the world overlooks. It's not about who sits at the head table, who's on the committee, or who's got the fanciest introductions. In the end, every victory with real meaning is born out of something deeper, an unseen river of purpose, a current flowing straight from heaven to the heart of those who refuse to give up. When people try to tear you down, most of them never realize that their words and actions are only rattling the branches. They think they can push you over with a gust of gossip or a burst of jealousy, but the real you is anchored far below where their trouble can reach. They plot and plan, thinking they can snatch away what God has for you, but all their schemes hit nothing but air. While they're busy running around, chasing after shadows, the true foundation of your blessing is quietly holding firm, built on faith, patience, and years of standing strong through every kind of weather. Sometimes, the very ones who work hardest to see you stumble are the same faces you see every day. The neighbor who waves in the morning, the coworker who laughs at your jokes, the friend who shares Sunday dinner. It's a strange thing, but the greatest challenges often come not from strangers, but from those within our own circle. It's not always malice at first. Sometimes, it's disappointment, envy, or a silent wish to be a little more like you. Over time, these feelings twist and grow, turning ordinary people into accidental adversaries. What started as simple comparison becomes a storm of competition and secret hurt. But even when others turn away or work against you, the roots God planted in your soul are still drawing water, still growing deeper, still preparing for a new season. What they meant to trip you up ends up making you wiser, more careful, more compassionate. Life is full of moments when you're left standing alone, feeling overlooked or misunderstood. It's in these times that God's presence becomes more real than ever. You find out that His approval is enough, that His strength is made perfect in weakness, and that sometimes the greatest miracle is just making it through the storm with your peace intact. It's so easy to let resentment take root when you discover that the real obstacles in your path aren't strangers, but people you trusted. But the beauty of divine wisdom is that it teaches you to bless and release, not to curse and hold on. Every hidden betrayal is an opportunity to dig your roots a little deeper, to grow your character, and to prove that your worth doesn't depend on anyone's validation but God's. The world will always have its skeptics and critics, but their doubts cannot rewrite what's written over your life. When pride blinds people, they see your patience as weakness and your humility as insignificance. But what looks like powerlessness to man is an invitation for God to step in. Time and again, history shows us that the real breakthroughs come when the spotlight is gone and the audience has left. The overlooked ones become the overcomers. The rejected become the respected. The quiet prayers in secret become public testimonies of restoration and favor. Let them say what they will. Let the proud write you off. They don't see the hidden rivers that feed your soul or the hand of grace guiding your every step. What they meant for harm, God turns into help. What they set up as a trap, He uses as a stepping stone. While they count your losses, God is counting your seeds sown in faith, and He's getting ready to bring forth a harvest bigger than you imagined. The truth is, no amount of planning or scheming can uproot a person whose roots are planted in the promises of God. The higher the tree, the deeper the roots. Every storm you survive only makes you stronger for the next season. You may be standing alone today, but you're not standing empty. You're standing on a word, on a calling, on the faithfulness of a God who keeps His promises. And when the time comes, what's been hidden beneath the surface will break forth, not just for your sake, but so everyone watching will know where true strength comes from. Let this season be the proof. When others count you out, God is counting you in. While they're measuring by numbers and status, He's looking at the heart. And the very ones who dismissed you will stand amazed as God raises you up, not because of who you know, but because of who you are in Him. This is the story of the chosen, the story of the underdog, the testimony of those who learned to lean into the invisible and trust that the best is yet to come. So, don't lose heart when familiar faces turn into challengers or when those close to you become sources of pain. Your roots are growing even when nobody notices. Your value is increasing even when the world overlooks you. And every silent victory, every moment you choose faith over fear, is another ring of strength added to the tree of your life. Just like that old oak, you'll find that the storms which were meant to uproot you only made you stronger. The ones who tried to write your ending didn't realize God was just getting started. The power behind your breakthrough isn't in the crowd, the handshake, or the secret deal. It's in the quiet places where God meets the humble, lifts the overlooked, and gives new beginnings to the ones the world forgot. Hold on to that promise. Because in the end, it's the roots nobody saw that support the harvest everybody will see. The foundation you built in secret is about to become the platform for your next season of blessing. And those who thought you were powerless are about to witness just how mighty the quiet faithful can become when destiny calls their name. It's a lot like watching someone stand at the edge of a well, lowering a bucket, hoping to pull up water that was never meant for them. No matter how many times they let that bucket down, twist the rope, or even try to shine a flashlight into the depths, what's at the bottom of that well isn't theirs to claim. They circle the stone, listening for secret splashes, searching for a shortcut to quench a thirst that only living water can satisfy. In every generation, there are people who dedicate themselves to studying others the way a mapmaker studies mountains and rivers. They chart every move, jotting down habits, noting when you plant and when you harvest, as if success can be captured like a photograph and hung on their own wall. They'll watch you wake up early, stay late, offer a helping hand, or pray in silence, and they'll think, if I just copy these steps, surely the blessing will be mine. Sometimes these folks drift into your life out of nowhere, smiling, helpful, almost too eager to be part of your story. They ask all the right questions, eager to learn the ropes or follow your example, but what they're really after is the recipe for your favor. It isn't that they admire you in a pure-hearted way, it's that they see something working in your life and hope, by osmosis, to make it their own. Like a person trying to mirror your reflection, they think that standing beside you, talking the same talk, will make their path shine the same way. But here's the truth no one can escape. You can't photocopy a calling, and you can't duplicate what's been divinely assigned. Prosperity that comes from above is rooted in purpose and watered by authenticity. It doesn't come in a bottle or a book. It flows through obedience, patience, and that gentle relationship with the source that nobody else sees. You can teach someone the mechanics, how to tie their shoes, balance a checkbook, even memorize a speech, but you can't hand them your story, your trials, or the quiet conversations you've had with God in the stillness of the night. That's why imitation, no matter how dedicated, never quite rings true. The same way a plastic flower never carries the scent of a real rose, borrowed routines and rehearsed smiles can't fake the fragrance of genuine grace. Folks might try to fit into your shoes, but they'll always find the walk uncomfortable. The journey that brought you here is lined with unseen steps, moments nobody witnessed but God. Think you've heard it all? Subscribe and let the Bible surprise you. It's almost comical sometimes, watching how far people will go to find a shortcut to blessing. They'll buy the same clothes, learn the same catchphrases, even start showing up where you go, thinking that prosperity is contagious like a cold. They don't see the lonely nights or the silent prayers, the years of trusting when nothing seemed to change. The depth of true favor is always invisible to those looking only at the surface. When someone comes alongside you with an interest that feels a bit too intense, it's wise to pause and discern the spirit behind their curiosity. There's nothing wrong with sharing wisdom or lending a hand, but real connection is built on truth, not a transaction. If the relationship feels lopsided, if it's all about what they can extract rather than what they can give, it's a sign that something deeper is at work. Even Jesus warned about those who come as sheep but underneath are wolves, hungry not just for the blessing, but for the source of it. There is a remarkable durability to real, God-given prosperity. It's as if your blessing wears armor invisible to the eye but impossible to pierce. When someone tries to sneak in, to duplicate your results without paying your price, all they get is a lesson in frustration. They soon discover that there's no backdoor to genuine increase. Every attempt to shortcut the process is exposed in time, for what's authentic will always outshine the imitation. Sometimes the lesson is for them as much as it is for you. God lets certain people get close not to harm you, but to reveal the difference between what's real and what's artificial. He lets them witness your process so they see that the oil on your life is pressed from olives they never carried, that the gold is refined in fires they never felt. What they see as overnight success is, in reality, years of perseverance, humility, and divine preparation. There is a spiritual law at work here, one that says what is for you cannot be transferred, traded, or stolen. No matter how many notes someone takes, no matter how carefully they try to reproduce your every move, the door only opens to the one whose name is on the deed. This is not to make you proud, but to remind you that your blessing is not random. It's a stewardship, not a secret formula. The real glow that people notice about your life is the light of obedience and integrity. It's the peace that comes from knowing you stayed the course when it would have been easier to quit. It's the confidence born in seasons of lack, When you learn that God's supply isn't dependent on applause, approval, or anyone else's bank account, that glow cannot be faked. It only grows brighter with every test and every act of faith. When imitation fails, it sometimes turns to resentment. That's when those who tried to copy your journey may begin to criticize, gossip, or undermine. But don't let it disturb your peace. The counterfeit always exposes itself in time, and the truth always rises. Let your response be kindness, humility, and quiet perseverance. Remember, you're not here to prove anything to anybody. The blessing on your life is a message in itself, a testament that God still honors those who trust Him. So, let folks maneuver and study and imitate if they must. Your assignment was written long before they ever noticed you. The favor you walk in is a reward for faithfulness, not a prize for performance. Keep showing up, keep being authentic, and keep watering the seeds that only you and God know about. The time will come when the real and the counterfeit stand side by side, and only one will bear fruit that remains. You are the living proof that true abundance is guarded by grace. Every attempt to steal or copy what God has entrusted to you only sets the real blessing higher and farther out of reach for those not meant to carry it. Keep your heart tender and your eyes on your purpose, for what's real can never be replicated, and what's forged in secret with God will stand through every storm, shining brighter than any imitation ever could. The lives constructed by these individuals are often patchworks, cobbled together from borrowed ideas and fleeting inspirations. When faced with the steady radiance of genuine presence, the mask of self-made confidence begins to dissolve. Refusing invitations or gently drawing boundaries uncovers truths that are hard to swallow. Disappointment quickly transforms into a tempest of frustration, the calm surface replaced by a churning storm within. In the wake of unmet expectations, the facade of normalcy slips, revealing motives that had been artfully concealed, sometimes even from themselves. Trying to keep up appearances in this world is a lot like painting the outside of a house while the roof is leaking and the foundation is shifting beneath your feet. No matter how many coats you add, that paint can't keep the rain from coming in or the cold from seeping through. Sooner or later, what's underneath finds its way to the surface, and everybody sees where the real cracks are. There's always been a temptation to chase the glitter instead of the gold. Folks get swept up in wanting to look blessed instead of actually being blessed. They stretch themselves thin, spending what they don't have to impress people who barely notice, signing up for obligations their hearts were never in. The world says, bigger, faster, shinier, but God says, build deep, build slow, and I'll make it last. That's why some spend their days weighed down by anxiety, worried about what others think, and running up debts, financial, emotional, and spiritual, that become too heavy to carry. People who live for applause often end up performing for an audience that never claps. They worry more about the spotlight than the source of their light, and before long, the energy runs out. The show can't go on forever when it's powered by empty batteries. Meanwhile, the ones quietly doing the work, tending to their purpose, loving their families, honoring God in the small things, those are the folks whose harvest keeps multiplying year after year. They're not running in circles trying to impress. They're walking in peace, letting their roots go deep where no eye can see. The biggest blessing is never in what's seen, but in what's sustained. Some people will spend years putting on a show, juggling masks and making promises, until one day, the curtain falls and they're left with the reality of what's underneath. All that chasing and striving leads to tired hearts and empty hands, because you can't fill your soul with other people's approval. When storms roll in, that's when the difference becomes clear. Those who spent their energy building a name, chasing a title, or keeping up with the neighbors find themselves scrambling for shelter. But those who built on faith, who planted seeds of kindness, patience, and honesty, they find doors opening where they didn't expect, help showing up just in time, and miracles unfolding quietly, almost as if heaven itself reached down to lift them out of harm's way. There's something simple and strong about a life built on purpose instead of performance. Complicated plans and tangled schemes always seem to collapse in the end. It's the quiet, faithful folks who endure, those who don't need to shout to be heard or fight to be seen. When trouble comes, it's as if a hidden hand moves circumstances, guiding them right through the danger while others stumble over their own complicated designs. Sometimes, the struggles of those chasing status become a mirror for the rest of us, a warning not to get caught up in appearances. Their hardships remind us that it's not about being the loudest or the flashiest, but about being rooted in something real. It's the honest, consistent choices made in secret, the ones nobody praises or posts about, that build a life that lasts. There's a quiet joy in watching God open doors that no man can shut. The ones who tried to win by competition find themselves always looking over their shoulders, while the ones who walked in their calling have a peace that's steady and sure. The world can't explain it, and sometimes, neither can you, but you know in your heart that grace makes a way where striving only wears you out. So if you ever feel like you're falling behind in the race for recognition, remember, the greatest victories are won in hidden places, where faithfulness is forged and character is shaped. Don't let the noise of other people's hustle make you question your own steady progress. The slow and steady blessing is the one that endures. The truth is, no complicated blueprint, no clever trap, no shiny shortcut can stand against a life anchored in God's purpose. At the end of the day, it's not about the crowd that cheered or the awards collected, but the fruit that remains, peace, integrity, and a sense of fulfillment that comes from being exactly where you were meant to be. So keep building, keep trusting, keep watering the seeds no one else sees. Your reward is on the way, and it's coming in a form no audience could ever give and no adversary could ever block. What God has started in you, He will finish, quietly, beautifully, and in a way that lets everyone know the difference between painted walls and true, lasting strength. Sometimes, unseen interventions guide attention away from conflict and distraction, opening up paths toward growth that render old tactics obsolete. The busiest seasons of creation or transformation aren't accidents, but the result of orchestration that keeps hearts and hands occupied with meaning, rather than mired in pointless battles. Those recruited as instruments of chaos often find themselves unprepared for the immovability of the target. Empty promises unravel, the easy victories once guaranteed transform into burdens, and those who once conspired together scatter, looking for someone else to blame. For those who joined the campaign expecting simple gains, the truth soon becomes obvious. There are no shortcuts to blessings built on a foundation of authenticity. Contracts and agreements become irrelevant as the entire operation collapses under the weight of unmet obligations and broken trust. The more desperate the efforts to seize what doesn't belong to them, the more distant the reward becomes, until all that's left is the emptiness of what might have been. As chaos grows in the circle of the envious, those at the center of the plot watch with disbelief as their own resources and reputations evaporate. The more they strive to sabotage another's progress, the more their own trajectory declines. Every attempt to hinder becomes an unexpected aid to the person they opposed. This is not random fortune, but a living testament to the principle that what is rooted in purpose cannot be toppled by distraction, and what is deserved cannot be intercepted by cunning. When the dust settles, the true scale of the conspiracy reveals itself, not just as a failed plot, but as a moment of reckoning for all involved. Secret messages, veiled transactions, and hidden meetings come to light in unexpected ways, leaving those who believe themselves invisible exposed to the full consequences of their actions. The lesson is not only for those who plotted, but for all who witness. Paths taken in darkness unravel under the scrutiny of the sun. For the orchestrator, every opportunity to choose cooperation or learning was dismissed. Warnings were ignored, wisdom was spurned, and the steady signs that pointed to the futility of their efforts were met with willful blindness. In the end, they reveal more about their own limitations than about the one they tried to harm. Conversely, the recipient of these attacks emerges stronger, forged by trial and blessed with wisdom and discernment that could not have been gained without resistance. A remarkable shift begins to unfold as new avenues and relationships appear, multiplying the very abundance that was once targeted. The connections lost by those who plotted in secret are gained by those who remained steadfast. The recognition that was coveted shines brightest on the deserving, illuminating the stark contrast between authentic purpose and desperate striving. The unraveling for the conspirator is more than financial. It is a stripping away of the illusions upon which their identity was built. Where once there was pride and certainty, now there is uncertainty and fear, A tangible reminder that borrowed foundations do not hold. As isolation grows, so too does the awareness in the wider community. The truth becomes too glaring to ignore, and former alliances fade into memory. Subscribe now. Your next favorite story might be 1,000 years old. In this unfolding, the burden shifts from those who have been attacked to those whose choices have isolated them. Liberation takes root, not in revenge or the satisfaction of watching a foe fall, but in the clarity that comes with release. No longer weighed down by confusion or the need for validation, the once targeted step forward lighter and wiser, unconcerned with the motivations of those left behind. The ripple effects of justice reach further than any single scheme or betrayal. True peace is found not in evening the score, but in transcending it, resting in the assurance that every season has a purpose and every trial brings its own unique harvest. The overflow that arrives in the wake of struggle isn't limited to material gain. It encompasses connection, wisdom, and a renewed sense of calling. What once appeared as an unending barrage of obstacles transforms into undeniable evidence of resilience. The lessons taken from hardship become the armor for what's next. Those who attempt to draw near with hidden motives are met not with naivety but with discernment sharpened by experience. At the same time, the grace to release the past allows new beginnings to take root. As the cycle completes, there is a sense of wholeness born from having survived the fire and emerged not just unscathed, but transformed. The would-be thieves of destiny gain nothing, while those who held fast to their true path receive rewards far exceeding what was ever threatened. The journey, in the end, is not about what was lost or won, but about the awakening to what cannot be taken, inner strength, enduring wisdom, and the quiet certainty of being aligned with something greater than circumstance.